There is no doubt in saying that whoever knows Star Wars best is the creator himself, George Lucas, who made Star Wars happen back in 1977. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing that we do know about the Star Wars franchise is that, of course, Disney and Lucasfilm are currently trying to come up with a major plan in order to reunite the fans that they lost from The Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi, and just how they really handled the Star Wars franchise within the sequel trilogy itself. We do know that this trilogy had a lot of issues with it. A lot of fans had problems with the direction of these Star Wars films, and that now that we're moving into the future, a lot of fans are very excited about exactly what is really going to come out of Disney and Lucasfilm after, Bob Iger as the Disney CEO recently stepped down, and how now Bob Chapek, the new Disney CEO, is taking over as head of Disney. Now, when you think about this, Lucasfilm really is trying to really make it up to the fans. Either this is an act of desperation, or this is very genuine on their part. I think it's still a desperate act, to be quite honest with each and every one of you. But what's really exciting all has to do with George Lucas and his future with the Star Wars brand and the actual franchise, and how it's really all evolving. Now, when you think about it this way, when we look at Star Wars, we do know that this massive franchise that started back in 1977 is obviously getting a major facelift as of right now. Now that both Disney and Lucasfilm are finished with the Skywalker saga, they are focused on their new Star Wars universe, as well as their new Star Wars trilogy of films to come in the near future, where it's noted that Disney has a big plan in place in order to reunite the fans around the world, to create a better future for Star Wars as a brand, and that they have a strategy that will also evolve the franchise into something new. Where it's explained that since Disney's CEO Bob Iger stepped down as head of Lucasfilm, and that now Bob Chapek is taking over the role of CEO, many of Bob Iger's plans are being transferred over to Chapek with some minor changes in the mix, where it's noted that creator George Lucas will be on board with the new Star Wars trilogy of films, and that he will actually have creative control over many of the core plot elements of the story for them to tell in the near future, and that George Lucas will also be working alongside Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau for these new Star Wars films that will create a better brand of the new mythology of Star Wars films in the future. Now, it's explained that George Lucas will also be using many of his original ideas from the prequel trilogy that never made the final cut to be put into these new Star Wars films that are currently being worked on as we speak, and that Disney wants to gain the trust of lost fans from the sequel trilogy movies and Kathleen Kennedy's mistakes for Star Wars. It's noted that this plan by Disney is to have George Lucas on board, is that George will also be a co-writer for one of the new Star Wars films of the new trilogy in the works, with the main writers of these new Star Wars films for the future of the franchise by Disney, and that George Lucas will also be using many Legends material for the new Star Wars movies as well. So, the thing about this that's really exciting is that obviously, George Lucas was supposed to have a bigger impact on The Rise of Skywalker. There's no denying that. If you look at The Rise of Skywalker, we do know that that movie went through a lot of major changes, a lot of deleted scenes, so on and so forth, all because of Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy was the main issue with The Rise of Skywalker because she really interfered with exactly how the structure of the film was going to be laid out. So now that Disney CEO Bob Chapek is trying to really rebuild the franchise and is really trying to bring George back in, and kind of taking one of the major plans by Bob Iger to have George Lucas have a bigger role in Star Wars, this really does speak volumes. It tells us that they really want to catch lightning in a bottle again. What do I mean by that is, well, they want to actually do exactly what George did with the original trilogy. They want to really make a trilogy, or a new set of Star Wars movies, that are really going to have that wow factor, right? Where it's not going to necessarily just feel like a reboot or, a remake or something around those lines. It's going to actually feel like an authentic set of Star Wars movies, and that's exactly what they want to do. And a part of doing that, George Lucas having creative control over these new Star Wars films and even becoming a co-writer for one of the new movies in this new trilogy really does tell us a lot. Now, the fact that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are also going to be involved on some degree here also tells us that, Bob Iger's plans are transferring over to Chapek's, because Bob always saw that that of course Jon Favreau was very much like George Lucas, and he saw a lot of George within him, and how he also likes Dave Filoni because Dave Filoni worked with George Lucas in the past with the Clone Wars and such, you know? So when you think about it that way, obviously Star Wars, it has the opportunity to head in the right direction, to head in the direction where the Star Wars fans become united and they enjoy exactly what's coming their way for Star Wars as a brand. So, like I say, guys, I'm very excited to see exactly what the future is going to look like now that Chapek is the new Disney CEO. It's just all a matter of how Disney is going to handle things moving forward and exactly what they really want to do with this massive franchise. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.